Hello everyone and welcome to ZoomInData, your go-to channel for mastering Azure data tools and cracking those high-paying Azure data engineer interviews. Today we are officially launching our complete 40-episode series on Azure Synapse Analytics, taking you from absolute beginner level all the way to being fully interview ready. This first episode gives you the complete 2026 overview of what Azure Synapse Analytics really is, why it still matters a lot in 2026, its key components, comparisons with newer tools like Microsoft Fabric, and your first set of interview questions with perfect answers. So let's get started right now. So why should you learn Synapse in 2026? Because Synapse is still huge in enterprises and it is heavily tested in the DP203 exam. Microsoft Fabric is the newer SaaS successor and it comes with easier setup and one lake. But Synapse provides more pass control and flexibility for complex workloads. Many companies continue using Synapse alongside or instead of Fabric. And the best part? Learning Synapse now makes Fabric concepts much easier to pick up later. So what exactly is Azure Synapse Analytics? Azure Synapse Analytics is Microsoft's unified analytics platform and its PaaS. It gives you one single workspace for data ingestion and massive storage. It gives you one single workspace for enterprise-grade SQL data warehousing. It gives you one single workspace for big data processing using Apache Spark. It gives you one single workspace for ETL and ELT data pipelines. And it gives you one single workspace for seamless connections to Power BI and Azure Machine Learning. Quick timeline for you. In 2019 it was launched as Azure SQL Data Warehouse. From 2020 onwards it was rebranded and expanded to Azure Synapse Analytics. From 2023 onwards, Microsoft Fabric was introduced as the SaaS evolution. And in 2026 Synapse remains fully supported with no retirement date. These are the main engines and components in Synapse in 2026. First, Synapse Studio, the central web-based guide for everything. Then Synapse SQL has two parts, Serverless SQL pool for on-demand querying, and dedicated SQL pool for provisioned high performance. Next, Apache Spark pools for big data and ML processing. Then data pipelines for ETL and ELT orchestration. Lake database for modern lakehouse mixing SQL and Spark. And Data Explorer pools using Custo for logs and time series. Now let's look at the high-level architecture overview. Right in the center you have the Synapse workspace, which acts as the unifying hub for the entire platform. On the left side are the various data sources that feed into it, such as Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 for massive storage, Cosmos DB for NoSQL, Azure SQL Database for relational data, Event Hubs for streaming ingestion, and more. On the right side are the main processing engines, Serverless SQL Pool for quick ad hoc queries, dedicated SQL Pool for structured high-performance work, Spark pools for big data analytics, and pipelines for data movement and transformation. At the bottom you see the consumption layers where the results flow out to Power BI for interactive dashboards, Azure Machine Learning for model deployment, and various applications or business intelligence tools. Let's dive deeper into the Serverless SQL pool. This feature lets you query files directly where they sit in the Azure Data Lake without any need to load or copy the data first. It supports a wide range of popular formats including CSV files, efficient columnar parquet, Delta tables, JSON documents, and several others. The pricing model is very beginner-friendly and cost-effective. You pay only for the actual data that your query scans, measured per terabyte. This makes Serverless SQL Pool the ideal choice for ad hoc analysis, quick data exploration, and situations where you want fast insights without committing to fixed infrastructure. On the other side, we have the dedicated SQL Pool. This uses provisioned compute resources measured in data warehouse units or vCores, giving you predictable and consistent performance. It is built on a massively parallel processing architecture that spreads work across multiple compute nodes for handling very large datasets quickly. You can pause the pool when it's not in use and resume it later to save on costs during idle times. Dedicated SQL Pool is the perfect fit for production data warehousing, running complex analytical reports, and any scenario where you need reliable high-performance day after day. This comparison between serverless and dedicated SQL pools is asked in almost every interview, so let's go through it point by point. For compute, serverless uses on-demand and auto-scaling resources while dedicated uses provisioned DWUs or vCores. For pricing, serverless charges you only per terabyte queried, making it very economical for infrequent use, whereas dedicated has a fixed cost per hour or DWU. Setup time for serverless is instant with no provisioning needed, but dedicated requires you to create and scale the pool first. Best use cases: serverless is perfect for ad hoc work, data exploration, and variable or unpredictable loads, while dedicated excels at predictable high-performance warehousing scenarios. Apache Spark pools bring big data power directly into Synapse. They support popular languages like PySpark for Python users, Scala, Spark SQL for declarative queries, and even .NET. You get interactive notebooks where you can write and test code step by step for data transformations. Delta Lake integration provides ACID transactions, schema enforcement, and time travel features for reliable data management. And you have built-in machine learning capabilities through Spark MLLIB to train and score models right inside the platform. Data pipelines are built right into Synapse using the same robust engine as Azure Data Factory, but everything stays inside one place. You create them with a visual drag and drop interface that's easy to use. Key activities include copy data for moving information between sources, mapping data flows for complex transformations, and many other transformation steps. You can set up triggers such as scheduled runs, tumbling window triggers for time-based batches, or event-based triggers that react to data arrival. And the best part is full monitoring and debugging capabilities are available directly inside Synapse Studio without needing to switch to another tool. These are the Synapse Studio interface hubs: Home, Quick Start and Recent Items; Data, Explore storage and databases; Develop, Notebooks, SQL scripts, Spark jobs; Integrate, Pipelines and triggers; Monitor, Runs, Performance, Alerts; Manage, Pools, Security, Linked Services. Let's compare Synapse versus Microsoft Fabric in 2026. Deployment model: Synapse, more control, customizable. Deployment model: Fabric, fully managed, faster setup. Storage: Synapse, ADLS General 2 with flexible formats. Storage: Fabric, one lake with unified Delta focus. Pricing: Synapse, per component plus usage. Pricing: Fabric, capacity units called FSKUs. DP203 and Jobs 2026 Synapse, heavily tested and required. DP 203 and Jobs 2026 Fabric. Growing fast but Synapse still dominant. Why start learning Synapse right now? It appears in 70 to 80% of Azure data engineer interviews in India. There is high demand in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune job markets. Salary ranges: freshers 6 to 12 LPA, 3+ years 20 to 40+ LPA. And it gives a strong foundation that transfers directly to Microsoft Fabric. Answer the following questions. What is Azure Synapse Analytics? Explain serverless versus dedicated SQL pools. Synapse versus Databricks, key differences. Real-world example from an e-commerce company in Hyderabad. They ingest 1 terabyte per day sales and clickstream data into ADLS. They explore patterns using serverless SQL pool. They build production data warehouse in dedicated SQL pool. They use Spark pools for ML-based recommendations. They automate daily refresh with pipelines. And they deliver dashboards via Power BI. Dedicated SQL pool MPP architecture. Control node at the top. Does query planning and distribution. Compute nodes. Parallel execution across multiple nodes. DMS. Data movement service. Shuffles data between nodes. Azure storage. Distributed tables using hash or round robin. Your homework before next episode. Sign up for free Azure account at portal.azure.com. Bookmark official docs. learn.microsoft.com/azure/synapse-analytics. Practice answering Q1 to Q4 out loud. Record yourself. And comment, Synapse, below if you are committed to the full series. Like this video if it helped you understand Synapse. Comment, Synapse, to show you're in for all 40 episodes. Subscribe to ZoomInData channel. Share with friends preparing for Azure interviews. And turn on notifications for weekly episodes.